Alright, how's it going, Jack? I'm Kyle. I'm going to be refuting Jack Russell's claim that nuclear energy is a safe form of energy in the United States. A little background on nuclear energy so everyone can be familiar with it. Nuclear energy is the fission of elements that release energy. However, during fission, an element of plutonium is made. Plutonium is a waste product of nuclear energy. This element is used either for fuel or bombs. My claim states that nuclear energy is not safe in the United States. My first secondary claim refutes Jack's claim that that United States regulations on nuclear energy are not accurately monitored. The International Atomic Energy Agency is responsible for overlooking nuclear facilities and nuclear waste disposal. The IAEA does accept that due to measurement uncertainties, it cannot detect all possible diversions of nuclear material. Nuclear waste is a biohazard and should be monitored on how it is disposed. According to the IAEA, the rate of decay of a radioactive isotope is called its half-life, the time in which it takes the atom to decay. The half-life of plutonium-239 will remain hazardous for 240,000 years. This monitoring of the nuclear waste cannot be accurately monitored for over thousands of decades. My secondary claim refutes his claim that nuclear accidents have not happened in the United States. I claim that nuclear accidents have happened in the United States. In March of 1979, equipment failures in human error contributed to an accident at 3 Mill Island nuclear reactors in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The aftermath of the accidents included radiation contamination, increased cases of thyroid cancer, and plant mutations. This event is the worst accident in the United States history. We must ask ourselves, is this form of energy really worth putting our society in harm? My third claim states that nuclear waste disposal is not safe. Nuclear energy creates many harmful radioactive materials that are long-lived and remain toxic for thousands of years. According to the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, we are only beginning to see the consequences of nuclear waste. These radioactive isotopes contaminate the surrounding environment. Nuclear Age Peace Foundation claims that groundwater, air, land, and plants are affected by nuclear waste disposal. In closing, we as humans have to ask ourselves, is the price of nuclear energy really worth harming our ecosystem and us as humans directly? At about 19% of our national energy comes from nuclear energy. Is the price of cancer or mutations really worth it? We are only experiencing the short-term effects of nuclear waste disposal. Who knows what generations ahead of us will be faced with because of our actions? Thank you.
All right, and you turn Jake into Jack, and that makes him a dog, so you got to be careful about that, because Jack Russell is not the same thing as a Jake Russell. All right, the nuclear issue, I think, is identified okay. You tell us what the main claim is that you're going to present, and you present a counterclaim. Some of the same issues that we talked about on a couple of the speeches, not really any analysis of what the advocates' evidence and reasoning were on these points. You're relying primarily on counterclaims. On the monitoring issue, for instance, you tell us basically that it's not possible to have accurate monitoring because there's always going to be some that can't be accounted for, and then you tell us about the half-life on that. So that suggests that we've got some of this stuff out there that can't be accounted for that's going to be dangerous for a long period of time. And that's the way I think you want to conclude that argument, is that, look, we can't really regulate this sufficiently, as some of it is always going to escape our attention, and the stuff that escapes our attention still has a significant danger to it. That's a problem. Now, the only difficulty that I see later on is on your third point, when you talk about the dangers, on the problems, it's a very generic kind of argument. It's, oh, the groundwater's been contaminated, and sometimes the atmosphere has been contaminated, but we don't see any effects. We aren't told what's going on there. It's a very vague description of what's going on. The one place where you get specific about what the negative consequences are in the 3 Mile Island incident. I don't remember. I think the advocate talked about 3 Mile Island and attempted to deflect your arguments on this point. I'm not sure that that's the case, but you keep coming back to the question, so is it really worth pathetic genetic mutation or cases of thyroid cancer? Well, I don't know. What are we comparing it to if we're using some other product, for instance, or some other way of generating that? What are the risks in comparison? I think you need to do a little bit more contrasting on those points, and that's the thing that I think is missing. You're okay on the claims that you're presenting, but you're not doing the contrasting arguments the way you need to for a refutation. All right.